All right. Unfortunately, uh, injury is part of football. And before anybody makes contact in anger against an enemy, we're always going to have this. We're going to have fall camp injuries. Some players of note, I know Florida's top running back, Montreal Johnson. He's questionable for their first game against Florida. We've got uh, Nebraska's lost its left tackle. Indiana's lost its best offensive lineman. LSU has lost some critical pieces on their team, and there's a few others out there. For Oklahoma, we've got, of course, and Texas in particular, since we did talk a lot of Longhorns last week. They've already lost two running backs, including C.J. Baxter, the former five-star. So for OU, it's Jayden Gibson, who caught about 15 passes last year. Of course, this is a position of strength and position of depth. So do you expect there to be much fallout from this loss?
I think it's interesting to look at this one particular, Mark, because to your point, when you look at the statistics from last year, on the surface, it doesn't look like it doesn't look like it's going to be something of a huge loss. But I think it's going to be fairly impactful in a couple of reasons why. Um, he's a kid that's really has made really a lot of he's made taken a lot of steps over the spring and over the summer. Been one of their most athletic wide receivers in terms of his ability to get down the field. He's a big kid, 6'5", 6'4", 6'5" kid, and so his ability to run the way he runs and with his size, Oklahoma just doesn't really have a lot of guys that are like that from a wide receiver perspective. So when you think about it, they do have the depth, so I think they can take this blow to a certain degree, but at the same time, they don't have a lot of guys like this. So I think one of the guys that we've heard a little bit about here in fall camp is JJ Hester. He's the one guy on the roster that does have that size. Now he's had problems staying healthy since he's been in Norman. This is his third year. He's a senior this year, so you know sometimes seniors have a way of you know getting their getting their proverbial lives together when the senior year starts, right? Knowing this is their last opportunity. So he's made some good plays, but I think more so him just kind of been he's not been able to stay healthy over the last couple of years for Oklahoma. It's only caught I think one or two balls in his career. At Oklahoma, had a pretty good spring game, but still is someone that's going to have to do it in games. And so he's a guy that's going to have to do it because when you look at this, Mark, Oklahoma, the wide receiver group is a group that a lot of people are excited about and could be a group that's one of the more gosh, Mark, I would say probably one of the best groups in terms of overall on the offensive side of the ball. But at the same time, you've got some you now you're introduced with Jaden Gibson. You've got some injury situations at least early on that you're maybe not completely worried about, but would feel a little bit better if more of those guys were 100%. Andrew Anthony is a guy who's running around a little bit still recovering to a certain degree from that ACL injury that he had against Texas last year, and so he's a guy that I don't know that they expect that to be ready for Temple. And then you look at Jalil Farouk. He's a guy that got injured a little bit late in the year, had some things in spring, who's coming back. He should be available, but still is not 100%. I think at this time. So I think the biggest concern, when you look at that depth is, who's gonna take Jaden Gibson's spot, and I think you're up against some kids that are a bit unproven. Brennan Thompson, who's a guy. I mean, he's a smaller guy who, kind of he's the deep threat, takes the top off the defense type of guy. And then you've got you know, as we mentioned, Hester, who's a little bit unproven. And then there's a couple other guys, true freshman Ivan Carrion, who's made he's got that build. He's more of the taller. I don't think he's quite as big as J.D. Gibson. I think he's around the 6'3" frame, but they like his athletic ability. But again, he's a true freshman, so I think it'll be interesting to see, specifically early on, how the wide receiver group is able to come together as a team and make some of those plays down the field.